Well, good evening and welcome once again, Renew US here on PJNET Live. Tuesday night is a great night, as is every night at PJNET Live. We will have Dale Duduit joining us momentarily. He's been in the green room. I've read his blog. But before we bring Dale on board, I wanted to share with you something that I'm very, very excited about. And I have been on the phone today with Wild Bill for America. And the good news is that Wild Bill for America will be appearing weekly right here on PJNet Live. So we've got Roger on Friday. We've got Troy Towns on Monday. Dale Duduit on Tuesday. We don't know if Bill will be Wednesday or Thursday, but we know he will be here. But for now, let's go ahead and bring Dale Duduit on board. Last week, I don't know how we're going to do better than last week, to tell you the truth, Dale, because you knock it out of the park. And I'm sure that your mind might be preoccupied. Your book, Dugout Devotions, will be released Monday. Yeah. And hopefully you won't get too busy and famous to still be with us Tuesday.
No, I had to get a lot of people on board to help me write it. So
it's big. Today's blog I found rather interesting, even though I didn't get to it until very late in the day, because again, you've made a little departure from your sports theme. Mm-hmm. But God has evidently put it on your heart. What brought you to the place that you said, I'm just going to cut loose the ties to the anchors and sail?
Well, you know, today's post is about abortion, and here in the news, it's always obviously important and prevalent, but here lately it's just been getting really a lot of pub from the president, who I love, is pro-life. He makes no bones about it. And with the recent decisions in New York and the proposals in Virginia, and just all the squabbling, some of the Senate bills that are coming up through Ohio, and then one of the churches in our area invited us to come and receive a donation to our local chapter, which we were involved in. And so I just started talking about some legislation that's been passed in Ohio and being challenged by Planned Parenthood, and just some updates. And there's a lot of disturbing things going on in my state. And I thought, you know what, my blogs most of the time are inspirational and not fluff, but you know, they're feel-good stuff. And so I wrote a piece for our paper a couple of weeks ago that
yes, you did.
I got a lot of feedback. And so I thought, you know, this has been out there. I'm going to make my position known. Folks know it anyway, but I just want to bring us a good point, so it's kind of vent a little bit. So, you know, there's a lot going on in our state, and Ohio is a very pro-life state. So there's a lot of bills up that folks don't know about. And when I was talking about it to some folks in that church service, they were like, oh my gosh, that's really going on. I'm like, yeah. So maybe I should do something about it. And so it's been getting a lot of play on Twitter. I've been getting a lot of comments. Most of them are nice, but there's some that are, you know, I can't share here, but that's okay.
Well, Dale, what I found interesting, you know, is you didn't get into the weeds of the usual pro and con, pro-life, you know, pro-choice and all that. I'm sick of hearing it. First of all, I have often stated publicly here, I don't think persuasion I've yet found any exchange of ideas where either party said, I've been considering the points you've brought up, and I have come to realize I'm wrong.
Oh, yeah, it rarely happens. It hasn't happened to me.
Yeah, that would be truly an act of the Holy Spirit if it did, but I haven't seen it yet on social media. So I'm beyond persuasion. I'm just to the point of, I guess there comes a point that you just want to say, sit down and shut up.
Oh, yeah. And so, yeah, and so I always when I do a pro-life piece, I always throw in that comment, that quote from President Reagan, which is the best quote I can ever imagine, and there's never a comeback. They cannot come back to when he said, I've noticed that everybody who's for abortion has already been born. There's no comeback to that. So you can't argue with that. That's a slap across the face. And the pro-death movement cannot combat that. So what I tried to point out is this masking of, the sympathy and the emotions. That's all they play on, because it is all about greed. It's all about money. The whole thing's about money. They don't care about the woman's choice. They don't care if she lives or dies, as long as she pays that bill, and as long as that baby's killed. And in Ohio, last fall, the dismemberment abortion ban was signed into law. It went straight across party lines. The vote, which you can imagine who voted for it. This is a heinous procedure, and I'm not being grotesque. I'm not trying to get that shock factor, because I don't like that. I'm pro-life. I don't like to see the pictures of the dismembered babies. I don't like to see that. But this procedure is when the physician goes into the cervix, and crushes the child who's alive, and pulls it out piece by piece, and then reassembles it on a tray.
To make sure it got all the parts.
So you make sure it got all the parts, so there's no infection, and they kill the baby. So that procedure is now banned in Ohio. However, Planned Parenthood filed suit last week, like always. And Ohio Right to Life feels confident that this will stand up in court, because that's part of the gist of getting legislation to the governor's desk. Will it stand up in court if challenged? And so that's a lot of controversy now on the heartbeat bill going on in Ohio that the governor last year vetoed. He's very pro-life, but he knew that bill would not stand up in court. And the last thing you want to do is put a bill up, sign it, and then have it.
He wanted spend a year tweaking it, and that's what he got.
Yeah, and so he vetoed it.
I bet he took some heat for that.
Oh, he took a lot of heat, but we understood why, because like I said, you don't want that bill to go up to court and then get it struck down, and then you've got egg on your face, and you're like, oh gosh, what did we do wrong? So now they revamped it, and they feel very strongly that bill will stand up in court. And then get this bill going on, the Unborn Child Dignity Act. And this is a shame.
This one shocked me, Dale.
Yeah, this was going on. Senator Joe Eaker, who's my state senator, very good friend of mine, 2 years ago. Do you remember when those Planned Parenthood videos were being made, and people were being caught on tape?
Right.
So Ohio, now Governor DeWine, but then it was Attorney General DeWine, got wind of that and said, I'm going to look into Ohio and see what's going on. He didn't find any of that stuff going on, but what he found out was that the Planned Parenthoods in Cincinnati and Columbus were taking the remains of aborted children and taking them to a landfill in Kentucky. It's trash. Just tossing them. And that was really going on. So there was an injunction made, and they stopped it. But now a bill is in the House. It's his third time to go through the Senate, to require the abortionist to pay for a burial or cremation of that child. Yeah. So something with dignity other than trash.
Well, it's not even beyond the indignity of it.
Right.
I'm sure the pro-choice, as they call themselves, don't have a problem with the dignity, but there's some real sanitation issues there. You don't dispose of syringe needles with that kind of carelessness.
What would happen to you if you went out and did this to your dog?
Yeah.
You'd be strung up.
Yeah. And rightfully so.
And now, right, exactly. Now in Virginia, what that governor come out with, if a child lives through an abortion and they place it can die. They just let it die.
Right.
As long as it's comfortable. He's a doctor. He's a compassionate man. Yeah. Let that child who's born die. These folks have more concern with illegal invaders than they do about children being born in our country who are legal.
It's disgusting. But I do like, Dale, first of all, it was encouraging, and the topic is one that's charged with emotion, and our venue here is not about complaints and moaning and groaning. Your article pointed out several things that your state, the state of Ohio, initiatives being taken there to make progress for the unborn. And I'm proud of your state. I wish more states would join.
Ohio Right to Life is very active in getting legislation. The 21 pieces of legislation have been approved in like eight or 9 years, which is almost a record. Mike Ganadakis, who's the president, is a friend of mine. They're going to be having their legislative day here in a couple of weeks. My wife and I are going to go up and attend and see what's going on, see what more we can do to help. And we've been fortunate to be blessed with a pro-life governor the last 8 years, and now we have another one, Mike DeWine, 100% pro-life rating. We have a pro-life Senate, pro-life House. So we have that, and that's where we're getting things done. But they also have to be careful not to inundate the lawmakers with here's another bill. So they have to be careful too and prioritize things.
Well, isn't that sad? That's part of the political game.
It is.
That you've got to kind of measure out, force. You've got to use it in its application. You can't overwhelm. And that's the way it is. I found an interesting. I may enroll. But those YouTube ads that come on before your video, there was one I didn't skip, because here was Karl Rove, who he's not the greatest, but David Axelrod, he in Side by Side. Well, they've actually put up a website, and it's $180 a year, but it's basically lessons from the political strategists of our time. And unfortunately, conviction alone is not going to necessarily carry the day. Passion alone is not going to carry the day. Logic alone is not going to carry the day. You've got to maneuver through that minefield of the political landscape.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, that is life today. It's that's all it's about. But I wanted to be clear in my post, and I don't want to get into, even though I'm a man of faith, I don't like to argue, make my point with the Bible and things like that, because a lot of folks who read my post say I don't believe the Bible, so this point's mute. But I did put in some scripture, although I tried not to say God says this is wrong, and so I don't want to be preachy. I want to try to bring out a point in a logical manner to in facts. I mean, right. Facts are hard to, like when I said in New York, it's racist. I mean, abortion is racism. There's more black children aborted than born.
If you subject that, exactly, Dale, if you subject what's going on in the abortion industry to the same rigor that the prison population and every other sociographic and psychographic and demographic statistics that the left brings to bear, any population that is overrepresented in any particular vertical, okay, they play the race card. Well, when you apply their logic to the abortion industry is racist.
Extremely.
And it is no accident. It is no accident that abortion clinics are predominantly located in underdeveloped socioeconomic neighborhoods.
The inner cities, yes.
Inner city, yes. I mean, supply creates its own demand, folks. If you see a bunch of people eating ice cream cones, there is an ice cream vendor nearby. It's not that a bunch of people said we need ice cream and a vendor showed up. Okay, supply creates its own demand.
You go where the business is, and for the Planned Parenthood and the pro-death movement, it is business.
Dale, I did not do the math as your blog suggested, but I should have.
I just gave one example.
When you take the average, you say that the average cost of an abortion is about $1,200 times the number of abortions. Yeah. That is a staggering amount of money. That's an industry.
That's the average. Now, for the dismemberment abortions and the
later the term, the more expensive.
Yeah, exactly. These are just regular abortions. $900, $1,200 on the average. And then in Ohio in 2017, there were 21,000 abortions. It's a lot of money for
a lot of money.
For 1 year. Mm-hmm. So one state, 1 year. And then at the end, I don't know if you noticed, I challenged anybody who disagreed with me, and I appreciate if they disagree, tell me why. But oftentimes, the folks who disagree on a philosophical, political, social, and even religious idea, they cannot use words. They have to use profanity and name calling because they're void of words, because they can't explain why they're in favor of a child being killed. Just how it goes.
No, they do know why, Dale. They just don't want to say.
Like, yeah, I mean, there was one guy commented on the post I did 2 weeks ago, just like 19 profanities, I never respond, but I did with this person, and I said, "You're obviously out of words. You have no words. You're a sad, wordless person."
And I'm sure he said, "You're right." It's kind of sad. Now, I don't want to prolong the indignity, but when you look at social media, when you look at the mainstream media, it's become apparent that there is a puppeteer and I just was watching this free TV that I get, and I noticed that the programming is pretty good, but the commercials are dominated by liberal and left, lesbian couples, and saying how pathetic it is that they're not accepted as two mothers, of a child, and and I thought, how come, where's an advertisement for Budweiser or anything? I have to be subjected to this liberal advertising. But it's free TV, so.
It is. I mean, it's everywhere. It's, I guess, part of the culture now, but I don't have to agree with it and like it or buy the product. So,
well, we have to speak out. I mean, that's what we have to do, and that's what we do here. Sometimes you can't win, but you don't surrender. And I always say that it's like a scale. Let's put some weight on the other end of the scales. Let's not just give it to them. I mean,
well, I was talking to you in the green room before I came out here about I saw on Twitter today where there's this big uproar over John Wayne over an interview he did in 1971 with Playboy that's being resurfaced, and these people are outraged that he could say such things, and he was spot on. In 1971, he called out socialism. He said, this is a horrible thing to do. And he said he twined up at all the belly aching people are doing and how people are owed things. I mean, my gosh, if you go after John Wayne, you're going after America.
Yeah. Well, that and what was it? The Sound of Music. Oh, that's And I'm just ready to say, sit down and shut up. I mean, it's just get over it.
This is a generation of sensitive, crybaby, whining.
They need to be a victim.
Yeah, and that's sad. And I said this the other day, and I didn't mean it as it sounded. I said it's almost a place where we need a war. But I don't want one, obviously, but we need something where people
to unify us.
Yeah, say, oh yeah. Because today's generation, my gosh, it's been so many years since 9/11, and people forget. We've forgotten because we have almost a potential terrorist in our Congress right now. I mean, we have forgotten where we've come from.
Well, there's so many things I'd like to say, and time really doesn't permit. But let me just try. Let me take a stab at it.
I hope I don't get you in trouble here.
Well, here's the thing: is I sometimes wonder, in church modeling, we're trying to reach out, to people, to the unchurched, and on the others, they have this anchor that we're not going to change. We're not going to use electronic media. We're not going to get competitive in the market place of ideas, and the proponents of that ideology say that something's going to happen to bring people to God. Okay, they're waiting on that cataclysmic event. Well, 9/11, Dale, every church across this land was packed.
I know.
But how long did that last?
I've forgotten about it now.
I think we need to take as serious our mission as the liberals and the progressive take theirs. We are typically underfunded. We are typically without and unwilling to take on new technologies. The other comment that I wanted to make that got me going is this idea of entitlement. See, it starts with, it's not, it's a lack of personal responsibility. So we say it's not my fault. And I majored in psychology. So I'm thinking about building this model, kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, first of all, you failed, and rather than take personal responsibility, well, most human nature is to make an excuse to distance the problem from our internal psyche. That's a defense mechanism. That's normal, so to speak. But then the rationale in us begins to say, no, wait a minute. I messed up. I should, it's my fault. Let me fix it. Let me take it. No. There's a problem. So now there's an excuse. Now, if there's an excuse, that means that it's not your fault. You are therefore a victim. If you're a victim, you have been harmed. If you have been harmed, there should be restitution. See where entitlement just got folded into that recipe? Yeah. Okay. So you have to, so the left, the progressives, are always screaming victim, victim, victim. And it's like, man up. Put on, cowboy up a little bit.
I don't think they know how.
Well, watch John Wayne.
Well, they're starting to vilify the dude, which I would love to see him go up against What was the guy on who's the actor who was cussing out our president? I'd like to see John Wayne
Yeah.
punch him right in the Oscar. I mean, that would be fantastic. I mean, I can't remember the guy's name. I mean, I've watched some of his films, but no more. But
it's lunacy out there. It really is.
Yeah.
I'm glad there's a place we can just come and be real, and be sensible. Dale, next week, once again, you have got a big Monday coming up, and please take a moment to tell people who may not have heard previously what's happening.
Monday, I'm having a big launch party here in my hometown to officially launch my book, Dugout Devotions, published by New Hope Publishers and Iron Stream Media. My agent, Kyle Young's done a fantastic job as well on that. But we're doing a big launch party. It'll be officially available, even though pre-sales have been going on. And we're excited. We have a lot of things planned for it. And then we have some follow-up books in August. The First Down Devotions will be released.
I'm eagerly awaiting that one because, quite frankly, Dale, I hate baseball. I am being as generous and gracious as I can to put this baseball background on here.
I got you. I understand that. But so that day's coming. I've worked on this book for 2 years, and it looks small, but it's a very quick read. It's a very good read. I love I like the look of it, the overall feel of the book, just the way New Hope did this book. They're out of Alabama, so they're great.
Oh well, good Southern state, yeah,
good Southern state. So, but yeah, so that's Monday. We're having a big our local radio station is doing a Facebook Live broadcast, and we have a lot of folks coming in for that. So hopefully it'll go well.
That is awesome.
And then, I think I mentioned we have the book signing with Clint Hurdle in Pittsburgh. And then
you got it signed.
We got her done. Be on May the 4th. Not a Star Wars day, but May the 4th in Pittsburgh with Clint Hurdle of the Pirates. And then we're doing one in New York City in the end of May at a big book expo. We have a signing lined up there, which will be phenomenal. It'll be great.
Dale, your career is catapulting in ways God's blessed you richly, Dale. And you know what? You are a good steward of the blessings that God has shown favor, because you have been right there with God, proclaiming the gospel and exalting His name all along the way. That makes you my hero, and I appreciate it, Dale.
Well, thank you very much. That's very humbling words, so thank you.
All right, look forward to seeing you next week, bud.
Bye-bye.
All right. Oh man, I can't get enough of Dale Didway. I kind of forget how I ran across him, but thank God we did, and thank God that he gives his time to share with us on Tuesday nights the way he does. Again, we look forward, mark it on your calendar, our next live appearance will be Friday with Roger out of the great state of Louisiana. Monday night, Troy Towns will be back. He was sick this week. He had texted me well in advance that he was not up to it. And then Tuesday night will be the night after Dale's release of his new book, Dugout Devotions. You can keep track of Dale on DaleDidway.com, and the Didway is spelled D-U-D-U-I-T, and Dale is D-E-L. DaleDidway.com, and we look forward to more live right here on PJNet.